G'day and welcome to today's episode of the Master Analyser with me, John Buchanan, your host, and I will be joined by Brad Hogg a little bit later on to do the expert review. Thanks once again also to All That Cricket, Krishna Tunga and Crick Heroes for providing us data and statistics of today's game. And also to our sponsors, Launch Tea, the wonderful hitting tea from that Australian company, Ready, Steady, Go Kids, which is an incredible development program for young children. Echo Loom, Echo Look, wonderful Indian company producing eco-friendly products. And of course, Adzguru, who do all the advertising and marketing for us here. And here we are. Look, we've got Brad Hogg back on the scene. He's travelled around the world, it seems, and he's beautifully placed in a wonderful coastline of Western Australia. So welcome again this morning, Brad.
Yeah, thanks very much, John. I wish the waves were going quite, I wish the waves were big out there so I could go for a surf, but I can't today. So I'm just going to have to enjoy the elements of the sun and the beautiful day that we've got here. And I might go for a run along the beach after this.
Oh, it sounds perfect. Sounds perfect. But that probably wasn't the story of the game last night for Australia. But nonetheless, you know, one of the things that seems to be really emerging from the tournament again is the toss. What do you think about that? It just seems that if you can win the toss, insert the other team, particularly at night, it seems like you can chase down scores, albeit that the scores haven't been too large anyway.
Yeah, well, we didn't bat that well. We didn't put a large enough score on the board. So for me, I think we've got the perfect team to bowl second. We've got pace on the ball. But if you look at it, the areas that we bowled when England chased, we're putting it in the slot most of the time and they were able to execute and put it away. But the other thing too is when you're bowling second, we've got two spinners in the team and one of them we normally bowl in those first two overs and we didn't utilise Agar in those first two overs as well. So I just think we're chopping and changing our game plan both with bat and ball and really, if you look at England look as though they're playing associate teams in this Group 1 phase because they're not getting challenged.
Yeah, no, well, you mentioned game plan, and I reckon that was really key to the way that England went about it. I think we had discussed previously that I thought, you know, when Australia plays England's one of the teams that really does their homework, really prepares well, and therefore they work their matchups pretty well, I thought. You know, with Wokes, they started with Rashid, obviously. Wokes, Jordan really went to work on the Australian top order.
Yeah, well, if you look at their team too, they base it around white ball cricket, whereas we don't really chop and change our team. We're trying to keep most of our test stars in our T20 format. So I think we've got to look at that as well. But just the way that they operate, the planning, they've got a specialised skipper in Morgan in that white ball cricket. We've got a specialised skipper in Finch. But the other thing is too, they've been playing a lot of cricket together over the last couple of years. We've been chopping and change with our white ball team. We don't have any consistency there, and it's very hard for Aaron Finch to get a game plan together and to have trust in the players out there. And we just got to look at the batting lineup. We had Mitchell Marsh batting 3. All of a sudden, we started to panic and we put Steve Smith back out number 3. And the shot that he played last night was not a shot of a high-class player like himself, trying to pull a ball from wide outside off stump where he normally cuts it. So we've just got to look at things like that.
Yeah. And again, I mean, that's obviously down to the individual at the time. But again, without seeing the field placing, but I dare say, again, they know that they want to bowl away from Smith a lot of the times. They know the short ball is a useful sort of ball to have. And again, on these wickets where the pace is variable, the short ball becomes a real potent weapon in a range of ways, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And the other thing too, when you look at England too, they've got 3 specialist quicks, 2 specialist quicks in their team, which they utilise in both up front and in the death overs, in Mills and Jordan. And they've been utilising them for the last 5 years, or especially Jordan, and backing him. Even when he's having a bit of a bad patch, they just rely on him and they back his skills and they back him to change the way that he bowls in that back end when he's under pressure. So they allow him time to adjust to the differences that the opposition teams are attacking him. So for me, England are set in having specialists in certain roles, and I don't think Australia do. And the worrying thing for me last night was the way Mitchell Stark bowled. When the ball's not swinging, he just bowls it in the slot, and he's very easy to get away, and that's something that we've got to look at. Do we bring Richardson in for Mitchell Stark?
Yeah. Look, there's nothing like having a left-hander in your side, though, of course, and particularly somebody of Stark's.
Well, he's got to be performing, John.
He's got to be performing, no doubt. Look, one of the before we quickly move on to England's batting, and they won't take too long because they didn't take too long to go about chasing the runs. But was the interesting thing for me was that they used Livingston, didn't bowl Moeen Ali, and again to me that just said everything about the matchups that they were looking at across the Australian batting line with a few of the right-handed top order batters, Livingston leg spinner, obviously Rashida's as well, and Livingston sort of bowled the role that Zampa bowled. He came on the 8th over and did 8, 10, 12 and 14 and took 1 for 15. I thought that was an interesting move from England.
Yeah, definitely. And I look at Steve Smith. We could probably utilise his leg spin as well, and we don't do that because these wickets over here are quite difficult to attack the spinners. And we've seen with Livingston, and Livingston's not just a mini-mouth part-time bowler. He came over here and played club cricket with us here in Willerton, and he's got some skill with the ball. But he can also bowl the off spin as well to take it away from the left-handers. He's got a lot of talent, and he's probably the most sought-after T20 cricketer going around because he covers all facets, even good in the field as well. So this is where England are very strong. They've got so many options to play, and we just couldn't counteract it.
No, and they backed it up in the field too. I mean, from what I could see, generally good ground fielding, generally good in the air, nice catch from Wokes on Smith, even though it was a pretty poor shot. So they really put that package together well, and it was just a chase that, again, Australia had to really start well, didn't they? Really had to get wickets in that power play, but Butler just gave us a masterclass in T20 cricket or short ball cricket.
Oh, exactly right. And look, England haven't even got in a sweat in this particular tournament at the moment. But look, we've been found out, and we're on the back foot right now because we've been kicked out of the top two. South Africa are second on the ladder. And we've got Bangladesh, I think, in Dubai, which is going to be very tough because of their slow spin, and that's going to be a day game. So it won't be in our favour to play Bangladesh in the day game. And then we've got the West Indies, I think, out Abu Dhabi in a day game as well. So the advantage goes to those two particular teams. Australia under pressure. Either the West Indies or South Africa could go through over the top of Australia here because just the matchups that South Africa got, I think they've got Bangladesh as well and England. I don't expect them to beat England, but West Indies, they've got Sri Lanka and Australia, and the West Indies will be licking their lips thinking that they can beat both of those teams.
Well, that's a possibility. I still... The way that the West Indies have been playing, I wouldn't necessarily rate them too much of a chance. But, as you say, with the games coming up, and England really seem to be playing pretty well. They do have the toughest run, as you said. They've got they've got Sri Lanka and they've got South Africa as their last game. So that's a bit of a tougher run home than maybe Australia with Bangladesh and the West Indies. And of course, South Africa, as you said, has got Bangladesh as well. So it's a really interesting mix in this group. Hey, listen, one final thing that I found, just a little data point, may or may not be of interest, but in England's batting innings, and generally when you look across, each of the 6 balls in terms of where boundaries are scored, there's always a sense that batting teams try to attack the first or second ball to try to get on top of the over and then dictate terms from there. But so far in the tournament, it seems there's been an even spread of where boundaries are being hit. But in this particular game, the 5th ball of the over, England scored 42% of their boundaries. So almost, half their boundaries came on the 5th ball. That surprised me a little bit. Maybe it was just the case that, they were